My wife didn't cry. She didn't even blink. She sat on our thrift store couch with her hands folded like a lawyer waiting for a verdict, and said, "My CEO proposed 3 days ago. I said yes. I didn't yell. Didn't throw anything. Didn't ask how long. I just held out my hand. 'Give back my ring,' I said. 'Then get out.' She slid my grandmother's ring off like it was a paperclip and set it in my palm. It was heavier than steel, heavier than 5 years, heavier than the overtime shifts I'd worked to buy it. Then she reached for a suitcase I hadn't noticed by her feet. "Marcus—" "No," I said, opening the door. "Not a negotiation." Outside, Mrs. Doherty's vacuum paused like even it wanted to listen. Clara stepped into the hallway. I closed the door on the life we'd planned and stood there with the ring in my fist, lungs burning like the inside of a blast furnace. I drove to my brother Julian's place because every man needs one address where nobody asks for a recap. He answered in boxers and a Dead Tour Metallica shirt, took one look at my face, and wordlessly fetched a beer and the world's scratchiest blanket. "Couch is yours," he said. "Bathroom's the door with the transmission next to it." He didn't pry. We watched late-night nothing until the station went to infomercials. I slept badly and woke up worse. At the plant the next morning, Hank, my foreman, sat beside me at lunch like a linebacker guarding a kickoff. "You good?" "Peanut butter," I said and held up a sandwich. He grunted. Guys in our line of work know the difference between fine and not safe to climb a ladder. They covered the slack without commentary. Clara had worshipped her boss for months. Hale thinks, Hale says, Hale's vision. Marcus Hale. Funny thing, running into your own name on the guy who steals your wife. Around the time she got a new phone she guarded like nuclear launch codes, I should have understood the math. I didn't. I was working doubles to give us a future. Turns out I funded the runway for her exit. That afternoon I went to Goldstein's, the little jewelry store where I'd bought the ring with overtime and good intentions. Arthur peered at me over wire rims, gentle like a pastor. "I need to sell it back," I said. He didn't ask why. He looked through a loop weighed more than a gem. 1,800, he said. I'd paid $3,000. I took 18. From Goldstein's, I walked 3 blocks to Miller's Tool Supply, where everything does exactly what it says on the box. I bought a new multimeter, conduit benders, fish tape, strippers, a stack of GFCIs, things that don't lie, cheat, or ask you to finance their fantasy. Miguel from the union nodded at my haul. "Tools pay you back," he said. "People sometimes." He wasn't wrong. Saturdays started hurting less when Julian shoved an address into my hand. Habitat site. Go swing a hammer for someone who needs it more than your ex does. The site was a half-framed house in a tough block fighting its way back to decent. A folding table served as command center. Behind it, a woman worked 3 clipboards like a traffic cop. Elise. First thing I noticed wasn't her smile. It was competence. She could look at a chaotic job site and see a plan. "You must be Marcus," she said. "Julian said you know your way around wire. I can make electrons behave." "Perfect." She handed me a battered hard hat. "Tony's running electrical. He's forgotten more than most people know. Try to keep up." Tony had City Electric hands, leathered, precise. He tested my meter, tested me, and nodded once. Nice gear. Man who respects his tools respects his work. We ran lines, stapled cables, set boxes, talked codes. 4 hours later, my brain was quiet for the first time in weeks. The house's future owner, a single mom named Renee, showed up at noon with sandwiches, said thank you like we were saving her life. Maybe we were. On a stack of lumber at lunch, Elise asked, "What brings you out here?" "Needed to build something real," I said. It surprised me how true it felt. "Then you're in the right place," she said, and went back to drawing circuits in the air with her pencil. I went back the next Saturday, and the next. Clara reappeared on Facebook before she reappeared in my voicemail. Engagement photos at golden hour, coordinated outfits, captions you could smell from a mile away. When you know, you know. Soulmates in the most unexpected place. Unexpected. Sure. The next morning I got a text from an unknown number using LOL like a grenade pin. "Hey Marcus!" Awkward ask. "Hale and I found the perfect venue and need to put down a deposit this week. Could you lend me $3,000? Also, there's a 15% union discount if you sign the catering contract since you're still technically my husband." "So. I stared long enough for Julian to wander over. He read it and did a slow blink only brothers do before trouble. "You gonna respond?" I typed, deleted, typed again, then sent the only sentence that fit. "No. Find another way. You chose your destiny. Figure it out." Then I blocked the number and sent the screenshot to Ralph, the union lawyer who handles our pensions and our messes. "Keep everything," he said. "And don't sign Jack." "Copy that. Work saved me next." Hank transferred me to the St. Mary's Hospital renovation, new ICU, surgical suites, the kind of job where every connection matters because lives depend on light. Dr. Simmons, the facilities director, looked our crew over like a drill sergeant with a doctorate. "Gentlemen, no shortcuts, ever." "Yes, ma'am." I taught a green apprentice, Kyle, who asked the right questions. "Why isolated grounds?" he said, sweating in the hot plenum. "Because noise that wouldn't bother a lamp can kill someone on life support," I said. Teaching made me remember why I love this work. Physics you can trust. Saturday coffee with Elise started after we wrapped, usually at Murphy's Diner. Booth cracked, coffee strong enough to dissolve a spoon. "You ready to tell me what put you on my job site?" she asked one afternoon. "My wife left me for her boss," I said. "I needed to build something instead of surviving something." "I'm sorry you were treated that way," she said. No poster quotes. No, everything happens for a reason. Just a clear lane to breathe. I slept that night. First time in months. Cosmic Justice doesn't text, but old friends do. Aaron from high school called midweek. "Your boy Hale is in flames," he said, and I told him he could drop the "your boy." The CEO had been cheating on Clara with 3 women. Receipts, statements, a scene in a parking garage, police report, and everything. The petty part of me did a dance. The rest of me felt something I hadn't expected. Worry. Nobody deserves a fist or a betrayal that grand. "She okay?" I asked. "Physically, yeah," he said. "Emotionally?" Red flags. Engagement photos gone. Then came the voicemails. Unknown numbers, soft tears, hard spin. By message 4, she'd found the script. Therapy, growth, lessons learned, do-overs. Ralph called again. "Keep them. Don't answer. If she shows up, call the cops. Boundaries are not suggestions." I powered the phone down and walked a few miles through a neighborhood where people were just living. Kids squealed on swings. Dogs pulled owners down sidewalks that needed new concrete. Couples argued about groceries and laughed about nothing. It all looked better than a corner office with a rot in it. The knock came on a Saturday while Elise and I were on Julian's balcony sharing coffee and late sun. It wasn't polite. It was the kind of knock that says, "I'm here to make my feelings your emergency." Clara, jeans, ponytail, thinner, the trying to hold together version of the woman I'd married. "We need to talk," she said. "No," I said, not unkindly. "We don't." She delivered it anyway, the confession about Hale, the lies, the cheating, the "I chose wrong," the 5 years we'd had, the we owed it to ourselves to rebuild. Then she noticed Elise standing behind me, a calm figure in work boots and sawdust, and her apology turned into accusation. "So you're throwing away 5 years for someone you barely know?" "You threw them away," I said. "And I'm not choosing someone. I'm choosing a different life." "You don't miss me," I added before she could argue. "You miss the safety net." Clara's face went through the phases: hurt, anger, calculation, something like understanding. I closed the door gently, the way you set down something fragile you're done owning. Elise didn't gloat when I returned to the balcony. She handed me my mug. "You okay?" "Yeah," I said, and heard the surprise in my own voice. "I am." 3 months of quiet. Hospital days, Habitat Saturdays, dinners that slid into talking late, and talking that slid into companionable silence. Elise and I were careful with the word dating and careless with everything else, helping each other rip out old tile, arguing the merits of Hex versus Subway, starting a couple of tomato plants on her tiny balcony like we were daring the future to grow. Then Julian called one afternoon while I was explaining to Elise why GFCIs are non-negotiable near a kitchen sink. "Your ex is here," he said. She brought backup. Backup? Her mother. They look like they're about to negotiate a hostage release. "We went together." Clara had her campaign smile on. Judith, her mother, wore black like a verdict. "Marcus," Clara said brightly. "Thank you for seeing us." "I didn't agree to anything," I said. I stayed standing. Judith took the floor like a chairwoman. "Family is important," she said. "Marriage is important. What you and Clara had is not something to toss because of a few months of confusion." Confusion. Interesting word for engaged to your boss while still married. "I've been in therapy," Clara said, cutting in with the polished sincerity of someone who'd practiced. "Individual, group, the whole thing?" I understand my patterns. I ran from how real our marriage was. I see it now. I want to come home. 6 months earlier, I might have folded. It was a good speech. It would have killed at the movies. But once you've rewired a building, you know the difference between replacing a switch plate and tearing open a wall. "I believe you," I said. "I believe you learned things. But you don't miss me. You miss stability. You miss a person who always caught you." Judith inhaled like a tea kettle. I raised a hand. "I deserve to be chosen first," I said, steady now. "Not after shinier things disappoint you. Not because you ran out of better options." Clara's tears this time looked real. I didn't hate her for them. I didn't love her for them either. "I forgive you," I said. "That's for me, not for you." But forgiveness isn't a reunion. We left before Judith could start her second closing argument. Mr. Alvarez, Julian's super, was watering plants in the hall. He watched Clara and Judith leave and gave me a quiet nod. "Good," he said. "Some folks only learn when the ground finally meets them." That night, Elise and I finished the kitchen outlet and ate Chinese from paper plates on her living room floor, arguing lightly about backsplash grout. Normal. Blessedly normal. The kind of life you can build cabinets around. Time does a funny thing once you stop staring at it. I moved out of Julian's and into a small place a few blocks from the hospital, close enough to catch the sunrise on the concrete and still make it to roll call. Then I moved my weekends into Elise's townhouse one project at a time until there wasn't a line between yours and mine, just things we hadn't labeled yet. We adopted a big-eyed shelter mutt who thinks wire nuts are chew toys. We named him Ohm because we're those people now. At work, Dr. Simmons promoted me to crew lead. Kyle, the apprentice, installed his first surgical suite lighting under my eye with zero rework. I told him it felt good because we'd done it right, not because we'd done it fast. He nodded like he'd carry that longer than any raise. The divorce papers arrived on a Tuesday. No trumpet, no storm. A manila envelope, a signature, a breath. I set the pen down and realized the last door was shut. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt level. Like a run of conduit with no kinks, a coil laid flat. That Saturday, Renee's kids flipped the switch in their new living room and squealed when lamps came alive. She hugged Elise and then me and said, "Thank you," like we'd delivered light itself. Maybe we had. On the tailgate afterward, coffee cups warm in our hands, Elise asked, "So what do we build next?" "Something that lasts," I said. No speech, no pose, no audience. Just the kind of answer that makes sense when you've learned the difference between being loved and being convenient. I used to think love was fireworks and grand gestures. Turns out it's voltage within spec, grounds where they should be, a breaker that trips when it's supposed to, and somebody who grabs a ladder without being asked because they see you can't reach. I don't know what you call that in fancy circles. Out here we call it a good life. And we build it the only way anything worth a damn gets built. One measured, honest connection at a time.